So we went back to the States and we stayed. We came on our trip in February, and we moved to Israel that August. Now, when we got here, like I said, we decided on remote. And so when we got here, our landlord was waiting for us to let us into the apartment. And she couldn't believe that we took the apartment sight unseen, which we did. We did everything over the phone. Our cousins arranged, who told us more about the neighborhood that we ended up choosing an apartment in, because we didn't even know like what part of the neighborhood it was that we moved in, because that area of remote is really big, and there's different sections of it, and we chose Aleph, which is like A, I guess, and they lived in Dalit, which was kind of close but not so close, like a good 10-minute walk to them uphill, right? Did I say that in Sfat? In Sfat, everything is uphill, lots of stairs, cobblestone. So here, of course, there's no cobblestone because it's the city, and there's sidewalks. But there's stairs, there's lots of hills, because Jerusalem is called, you hear mountains of Jerusalem. So the city was built, chiseled in place from a mountain, as they say. So lots of hills. So we live in Remote Aleph, they live in Dalit. And we came, the landlord was waiting for us. She says, Baruchim Abayim, which is welcome, basically. And we go and we look at the apartment and we see, okay, this is cute. The living room was upstairs with the kitchen, and then downstairs was the bedrooms. And I did not know it at the time, but my landlord was a trip. Oh my gosh, such stress. Every first of the month, she would arrive at our door at 5 a.m. in the morning to collect her rent in cash. So we didn't have to have the rent on the first. We needed to have the rent before then. At the time, our rent was $500. The rate was 4.0. So we were doing pretty darn good because the rate was awesome. Or even 4.5 at some time. So we were great. But that she came to the apartment, she would call from the door at 5 a.m. and say, I'm here. Do you have the rent? On the first at 5 a.m. So, and then once she came, like later in the day, she just shows up. She comes in the apartment and she looks around and she said, why is the apartment so dirty? And I'm like, oh my God, we don't even have furniture. What does she mean it's so dirty? Look at the floors. Like, I couldn't even figure out what is she talking about. Now I know. They really clean their floors like a lot, like twice a day. And they really clean. And I've gotten close to that, but I'm nowhere near that level as of yet. But she would pick up the rent. So that was one thing. Our neighbor next door was part of, it's called the VAD. And the VAD are the people that are responsible for the cleanliness of the building and the electricity bill of the building, like for the hall lights, for repairs of the building. Now, you would think the landlord is responsible for that. She did not tell us that we had to pay this. So like after 3 months of being in this apartment, we get a knock on the door and it's the neighbor. And she says to me that she gets her daughter, because her daughter speaks English, some English, and she tells us that we have to pay. And I'm like, why? We just rent here. And so she explains to us that wherever you live in the country, if it's not a freestanding house, if it's in a building, you have to pay this fee every month. And our fee at the time, I cannot remember. I'm not sure if it was 50 shekels, 20 shekels. I can't remember how much it was. It wasn't so much, but the fact is that I didn't know. So that was another thing. So know that when you rent an apartment, most of the time that's not included in the price of the apartment to rent it. You have to pay that. But any type of work that needs to be done in the building where they collect money to, like, say if the stairs are torn and they want to put in new stairs, then that's something that the landlord has to take care of. But like just the basic cleanliness of the apartment, I mean of the building, where they hire someone to come in and mop the floors and paint the walls, or pay the electricity bill from the light that you use to walk up and down the stairs, that is on the tenant that lives there. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing was that I remember from this apartment, there are a few things. So the third thing that I remember from this apartment was two things, because it's from the same person. There was water everywhere in the hallway, like, oh my gosh, like a marble, like a big flood of water. And we didn't know. We thought like something broke, some pipe broke or whatever in the building, and they were going to fix it. So my husband was coming home, and this guy, he starts yelling at my husband, "You need to fix this. This is dangerous. I almost broke my back," or, you know. And my husband's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "It's your problem. It's your problem." And he's screaming at my husband in Hebrew. So we find out that the pipe that broke was from our apartment. This was going on for 2 days. We didn't know it was from our apartment. So we called the landlord and we told her, and so she gets somebody to come and they fix it or whatever, but we didn't know. And this person was so angry, and this person got on us the second time because my husband, he was playing music. He plays music, or he used to. Now he practices, but then he used to like play with the band, and so he would travel. And one time he came home really late, and I did not hear him at the door, and I didn't have a cell phone. There she is. I did not have a cell phone. And so he's banging on the door. He's banging on the door. I did not hear him. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And the guy comes. He opens his door and he's like, "What's all this noise out here?" You know. And my husband's like, "I'm locked out." So the man just said, "Keep it quiet." Boom, and he closes the door. He loved my husband. He didn't even offer my husband to come in his house or whatever. My husband ended up sleeping in a synagogue. A lot of the synagogues, the doors are open, especially in a religious neighborhood. They keep the doors open, like you could just come in. So he ended up sleeping in the synagogue. I didn't hear anything. When I woke up the next day, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, where is he? Where is he?" So he comes and he tells me that you know, he was locked out, and he told me about like what the neighbor did and so on. It was crazy. So can you imagine? The other thing was the grocery store. I would go to the store and all the products are in Hebrew. I mean, really all in Hebrew. There's nothing with English. But at least I know what stuff look like. So I'm getting like basic stuff, cheese, bread, you know, and this is kind of like what we ate, unless my husband's cousin would take me out, and then she would take me shopping. So then I knew what to get, and she would help me, and she helped me buy things for the house and things like that. But as far as language, forget about it. So this is like less than, all of this happened maybe in 6 months time, I think, of us living in this apartment. And I joined an OPON, which is where you go to learn the language. And the government paid for that. For when you decide to live in Israel as a citizen, they pay for 6 months of you taking OPON. And so the first OPON that I went to, I hated. I am not going to lie. I went to an OPON in Har Nof, it was for religious women. And I hated it. I cried on the bus. I cried so hard that the people on the bus was like feeling bad for me. Like, what is wrong? What's going on? And in Har Nof, it's mostly English speakers that live there. There are Israelis too, but lots of English speakers live there. So it was like a nice amount of English speakers on the bus can hear my conversation to my husband, crying to him that I'm stupid, I'm not going to get it, the language is so hard. And I'm never going back. And so I didn't go back to that OPON. I hated it. I didn't like the people that were in the class. There was one chick in the class, that's how angry I was. There was one chick in the class, and she was just Miss Know-It-All. Oh, she made me so mad. I could have just like punched her in the face. That's kind of like where I was so mad. Like, and she didn't want to be my partner because she had taken OPON already before, so she was pretty good, and I was just slowing her up. I saw her again. You know, she had the nerve to ask me, did I know anybody for her? No, I don't know anybody for you. And if anybody ever asks me about you, I'm just going to say you're one shallow, self-centered. I was so mad. I was mad. Anyway, I ended up going to a different Opon after that, and that Opon was really good. And there's different ways that people learn the language in an Opon. An Opon, you either can learn by getting a large amount of vocabulary words, and you can learn by the vocabulary. But my favorite Opon that I went to, because I went to Opon 4 times. 4 times. 3 times I went back to back. I went to Harnof, and then I went to another one that was called Fannie Mae. Isn't that funny? Her name was Fannie Mae that owned this building, and this was where the Opon was, so it was called Fannie Mae. So I went to Harnof, I went to Fannie Mae, which is no longer in existence, and then I went to Mora Shah. Now Mora Shah, I still say, is the best Opon that I have ever attended or heard about, because there they teach you from an English perspective, because in English there's no masculine and feminine, and so it's hard to understand a language if you don't understand about masculine and feminine. So in Mora Shah, they give you a Seder. They have a set order of how they teach you every day. And in that class was, when you first come in, they give you words, and they give you a sentence with those words, and you work on these sentences. And we talked, we spoke back and forth between each other, these sentences. I want to ride the bus. I want to buy something. If I can't pay today, can I pay tomorrow? Things that you needed that you can use immediately as soon as you walked out of the class, you were able to talk. How much is this? Does this bus go to, you know? So that was amazing. Loved Mora Shah. And I think this is going to have 3 parts, because I really want to keep talking about this, because I'm not going to give you all 13 years, but I'm going to give you just about my first year. And this is all just in the first year. Thank you so much for sticking with me. And it's the second part of this video. And if you like it, hit the like button. And if you watch the whole thing to part 2, you should subscribe just to be nice to me. Thank you.